Hi there, my name is Kay Moon, and I am a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the Pisces full moon taking place on September 14th, 2019 at 12:33 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, according to my software. However, you may find that this full moon takes place on the 13th or very, very late on the 14th, depending upon where you are in the world. This particular full moon is marked by a couple of key signatures that are paving the way for what happens next in the new year. Um, you know, the mutable signs, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Gemini, the mutable signs all mark moments of change where seasons change in the year from one to the next. Um, One of my favorite YouTube astrologers, Nadia Shah, was pointing this out. She's a really brilliant astrologer. You can definitely check her out for her interpretation of the stars. She does a great monthly. Um, but what stood out to me as she talked about this particular season being a season of change and a moment of change is that full moons also mark culminations and completions, and that Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. There is something about this time of the year that is a harbinger of things that are coming to a close, things that are done and over with, things that are no longer needed to be in the forefront of our experience, things we don't need to create, foster, or carry on with. And so, and we get this full moon every year at this time, the Pisces full moon in Virgo. But as we head into the equinox season, where we start to have more dark than light if you're in the northern hemisphere, or more light than dark if you're in the southern hemisphere of the globe, this is a very important moment of culmination, of taking stock, especially this year with so much Virgoan energy that we have going on at this particular full moon. This Virgoan energy is sitting in a harmonious relationship to Saturn as we move into this cycle of culmination is giving us all of this earth energy, Saturn and Cap, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, and Juno all sitting together in Virgo. This is giving us the opportunity to look with a detailed eye at that which we're ready to release and complete. Specifically with Virgo, we're looking at habits, patterns, behaviors, ways that we may have been that no longer serve us as it relates to the way we are being with others. No longer serves us in the way we think about ourselves as it pertains to others. This is a grand laying to rest of thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and beliefs that take us away from the truth of who we really are. And having, some of the actual discipline to be able to step up to the plate and do what needs to be done in order to lay those things to rest, with Saturn here in Capricorn in a harmonious flow of energy to Pisces. It'll take work with that type of connection. This is a sextile connection. It's going to take some work. All of the realization and the insight and the motivation for it lives here in Pisces, the recognition of what, or in Virgo, the recognition of what needs to be done sits with this Venus, Mercury conjunction, Sun, Mars sitting here together, and Juno. The recognition of what needs to be done in order to move our lives past, the things that are no longer working is upon us. And with this Saturn energy, Saturn being restoration of integrity, the Saturn energy making our harmonious connection to these Virgoan realizations and this Virgo discernment under the light of this full moon is really supporting us to take the necessary steps, cut out the necessary distractions, step up to the plate in ways that we may have known we've needed to for some time, and actually shoot our shot, take our swing. Pick your metaphor. um, that being said, there is a little bit of this is a fork in the road moment as well, because just as much as there's this very strong energy at play around the discernment to do the right thing being upon us, to do the necessary thing so that we can move forward, just as much as that discernment is there and available, also in this chart, there is an energy of self-delusion and self-deception also available to those who prefer to walk that path. That's sitting here and represented by both this perfecting Jupiter-Neptune square in Sagittarius and Pisces. And when you've got two, like Jupiter being optimism and expansion, opportunity and hope, and Sagittarius itself really being our highest ideals and the truth. Neptune over here representing illusion and the realm of illusions, the realm of the unseen world, light and shadow, good and bad, both, lies and the mystery. Neptune and Jupiter coming together in a conversation of tension gives us the opportunity to ignore the truth and ignore the writing on the wall if we so choose that path. The other opportunity on the table to ignore the truth and ignore the writing on the wall here is Mars at 17 degrees Virgo sitting opposite 17 degrees Pisces Neptune. When you get this Mars opposite Neptune, the outer planet truly making the impact on the inner planet, Neptune being the outer, Mars being the inner, Mars being motivation, ambition, drive, raw passion and energy. There's this, at its lowest octave, there's this opportunity to believe that what we need to do doesn't require work, that all we have to do is just be. But with so much energy here in earth signs, and specifically the personal planets, the recognition of the falsehood of that is upon us. So before us, we have a fork in the road. Are we going to take the path of, least resistance, do nothing, take our hands off the wheel and off the gas, let the car start to hope the car continues to move itself down the road, pretend like we don't have any responsibility or culpability to the outcomes in our lives? Or are we going to take a look and take stock at the patterns that have predated this particular moment, causing this particular moment to be what it is, and then start to do the work required to pluck those weeds from our garden so that what comes forward as we move into this next cycle is actually something we want to harvest? That's the gift of this moment of the year. And specifically this particular full moon is really about standing at that fork in the road and saying, what's it going to be? Are we going to go the route of straight faith and hope and belief, or are we going to pair that with some action and some discipline and some recognition of the truth here? So that's the big energy here with this particular full moon. There's also a very gentleness to it. a softness to it. Neptune sitting so close to this moon, and the next closest planetary energy being Chiron, it's all the way 15 degrees away. So most astrologers wouldn't even think to look at that, but I always see them as a sandwich when they're sitting, close enough to the moon or the sun in that way. That the energy that's happening here is one of deep healing, deep forgiveness, self forgiveness in particular. There's also an invitation on the table to give others the same permission that you'd like to have when it comes to not knowing what you don't know, or not knowing what you didn't know in the past, but you can now see clear as day. That being said, this whole year with the North Node in Cancer has truly been about a return to self-care, a coming home to self, an honoring of our own emotional truth, and a regrounding in our own emotional integrity, and a dissolution of patterns of work, family, relationships that have taken us away from those truths of who we truly are. So, being at this point in the year where, we're at the very midpoint of Cancer making, North Node in Cancer making its transit through Cancer, this is definitely a moment of taking stock. It's a moment of opening our eyes to see what has been before us the entire time. It's a moment of allowing ourselves to look in the mirrors provided to us by the quality and the circumstances and the relationships of our lives, to say, all right, if I truly am a creator here, what is it that I want to stand and account for to create next? And what is it that I'm going to have to let go in order to have that? And what is it that I'm going to have to forgive myself and others for, uh, by way of freeing up the space energetically to have that? So that's the big energy here. That being said, there's a couple of other specifics that I'll get into with specific aspects, but I wanted to give that overarching energy first so that as we look at these specifics, you can filter them into the context of how you're examining your own life and where these choice points are. If you're curious about digging into your own chart, about this particular fork in the road, and where these choices are sitting for you at this time, so that you understand how to focus your attention as we move through the second half of the year, or the last part of the year, I should say at this point, please email me at chrysalismoon@gmail.com. You'll receive an autoresponder which gives you all of the booking information. The opportunity to book with me for October opens up this coming Monday, and anyone who is on the first to know list will be given an email detailing how to pay on Monday for their October sessions. The last several cycles, I will say, those on that first to know list and the priority list have completely booked out the calendar in total, so that I've not been releasing the calendar to the public. Last cycle, there were only 4 sessions left by the time I released the calendar to the public. So if you know for a fact that you want to spend some time digging into this energy in your chart, definitely email me. Be prepared to make your payment on Monday. All payment details are inside that autoresponder. And we'll have a conversation the first 2 weeks of October on how to really focus your energies as you move into the second half, or the last piece of this year. So, Mercury during this cycle between the new moon and this full moon has completed its activations inside Virgo. Mercury being mind, consciousness, and communication, and then activating Juno, our partnerships and who we're connected to one-to-one. Mars, our raw ambition, drive, motivation. Sun, our instincts. Venus, what we're attracted to, drawn to, and value, and what's attracted to us. Mercury's activation of each of these truly brought forward some conscious energy in the sign of discernment about what's going on in the realm of relationships for us that's working and what's going on in the realm of relationships for us that is not working. This would have been really super clear over the last stretch of time. And we're going to get a deeper dose of the amplification and the understanding of what we personally need to do because Juno's getting ready to slow down. The entire year, she's ran in the same pack with Mars, Sun, Venus, and Mercury. You can see these are all still somewhat close together, but Juno's pulled away just a little bit because she's preparing to spend some quality time here in Libra. She's got about a 6-month stint in Libra coming up. This 6-month stint is going to highlight for us the power of our partnerships and who we're connected to and what we're giving, and are we being fair? Are we being dealt with fairly? Are we giving what we feel is in integrity for us to give, not just, what the other person is giving in a tit for tat way, but are we being our best selves in partnership? That's going to be some of the questioning that comes up as Juno takes her position in the partnership sign of Libra for 6 months. The activations of this moment in time have been a preparation so that we can start to, now that we know what's needed, when Juno comes to sit in Libra, we'll have the first 6 months of the year. I think it's starting in November, December through April, May, we'll have a chunk of time where we're going to be able to put these things into action. And we're going to be called to account to start actualizing and manifesting what it is that we want to see happen in our relationships in the physical world. The other energy that seems really significant to point out inside of this activation group around partnerships is that we've got Mercury having a conversation, a very exact, precise conversation with Venus under the light of this full moon. You can see here they're both at 29 degrees Virgo, the very, very last degree of Virgo, the most Virgo degree of Virgo before Virgo becomes Libra. With this kind of energy, first of all, Mercury, consciousness, mind, and communication, and then Venus, that which we are attracted to and drawn to, these two sitting together in the most discerning degree of the sign of discernment is truly about watching our words. It's about knowing the right thing to say at the right time to ourselves and to those around us who matter to us. It's about getting to that place where what we have going on is the opportunity to truly, truly, truly honor ourselves, honor those who love us, and be in a place of giving to ourselves, giving to our dreams, and applying the work required for it. This is all wonderful and good right now while Saturn is making this harmonious trining energy to Virgo. But what's going to happen as all of these personal planets move their way into Libra is now that we know what we need to do, we're going to get a square to Saturn and Pluto once they all get into Libra, and we're going to run up against, okay, I get why I haven't done this before. It's hard here, it's hard there. I got to clean this up with this person. I got to clean that up with myself so I have some integrity when I talk to that person about X, Y, and Z. There's this overall energy here of recognition with this Venus Mercury conjunction at this time. We'll start putting rubber to the road in the cycle preceding this as we move into Libra season. The other overarching energy, let's just see. Venus, Mercury, talked about that. We talked about Jupiter and Neptune. Great. Okay. And then, right. The other thing that's helping us with that at this time is this Saturn sextiling Neptune. Now, normally Saturn and sextile to Neptune, again, this can bring like a dissolution of work ethic, a dissolution of hope, like certain amounts of discipline, and a dissolution of some of the energy of fostering our deepest spiritual truths. However, with Neptune going retrograde, Saturn also retrograde, but about to go direct once it gets to the 18th of this month. So we've only got 4 more days after this full moon to the 18th of September. The interesting thing here is that Saturn is bringing forward a recognition of where we need to curb our own enthusiasm in this conversation once it starts to go direct, and where we need to really tune in to the truth of what it takes in order to make things work. So I like seeing that because it strengthens this opportunity of the fork in the road, that all of us will pick the path that may have a little bit more work, but it leads to a sweeter life, as opposed to the path of kidding ourselves that if I just think it, it'll become true. We are both flesh and we are spirit. We've got to apply both in order to create the manifestations of our dreams. We can't just leave it to the flesh or leave it to the spirit. Both of them have to work in tandem as mirrors of who we are. So let's just see here. We've got Mars in sextile to this North Node, which I like to see. That just gives us additional motivation to move along the path toward our highest truths and coming back to emotional integrity with ourselves. We've got Neptune trine this particular moon in a fellow water sign to some degree. It's a loose trine, but it's in a trining sign. I love seeing that as well because, again, this is a very destiny-laden, destiny-rich full moon where we're being called to look at the big picture of our lives and where it's going and what has happened and what we want. And so the emotional truths and spiritual truths that emerge at this full moon are really going to lend themselves to understanding how we need to come back home to ourselves. I really love seeing that. And these are it. These are the big things going on here. As I said, this is more of a preparation phase. Once we get into Libra season, that's when things are going to get real rich. Very interesting. This is a period of, this ease is not the right word. It's a period of reflection and recognition, but the recognitions and the reflections are coming with some ease. We're not struggling or toiling for these or fighting for these realizations or getting hit over the head with them. Instead, these are coming forward in an opportunity to help us awaken so that we can create the lives that we truly want. As the planets continue to move forward in their march through the sky. So thank goodness, right? Divine invitation is a whole lot better than divine intervention. With that said, enjoy your full moon, my loves. If you'd like to explore the way any of this looks in your chart, please email me at chrysalismoon@gmail.com. As I said, you'll receive the autoresponder first. It'll tell you how to book, show you the booking details. The opportunity to make your payment to get on the first pick list for October 1st through 15th will open up on Monday. If you would like to be able to make your payment on Monday and reserve your spot, that is the only way to guarantee time with me in October. If you're not on that list, I can't vouch for what my October time will look like, because usually the people who are on that list consume the majority of the available spots. So that being said, take great care. And let me know how this resonates in the video. Please give it a thumbs up if this is resonating for you.